Earlier last week we released our first video on Genshin, a beginner's guide to helping new players familiarise themselves with the game and get started on their adventure. This first video was intentionally simplistic but probably not as useful to those of you who have already grasped the initial concepts of the game and its mechanics. Building upon this then, the following video contains 15 more tips to get you going in Genshin, this time with the understanding that you're already maybe adventure rank 5 to 10 and are starting to figure out what's going on. With all the usual opening snash out of the way, my name is Mr. Wolfie, let's get going. To get us kick-started with our list, we're going to do a quick scan of all of our menus and inventories to check if we have any free stuff lying around. As mentioned in video number 1, the first place you're going to want to go is your mailbox. This is especially important if you're only a few hours in, as the opening stages of the game will shower you with primo gems, wishes and other useful items. Next, it's worth having a look at your daily login to claim whatever is waiting for you every 24 hours. Do this once a day for 7 days and the rewards will continually get better before capping out at day 7. Connected to your login rewards is the free battle pass which players will unlock at adventure rank 20. Lastly, keep an eye out on your achievements booklet for free primo gems. These are normally handed out in small doses, but there are so many achievements that the gems will start to add up pretty quickly. Next, we're going to have a look at some of the hidden secrets that the city of Mondstadt has to offer. First of all, climb to the top of the Favonius HQ and find 2 easy chests. After this, head to the concave pillar area where you started the gliding quest with Amber. At the northern side of the arena, you can find a shimmering light above the short stone wall which you can follow all the way around for a free chest. From here, head into the cathedral and speak to the nun called Victoria, who, when prompted enough, will give you a free 4-star artifact. She might not hand it over at first, but speak to her enough times and she'll eventually cough up the goods like a boss. Head back outside and climb to the top of the cathedral itself, which I recommend scaling from the back. Ezio your way to the top and you'll find yet another easy peasy chest. Finally, although not in Mondstadt, players who have journeyed to the second region should head back and take a short trip to the Bank of Liyue. Find the souvenir shop on the map and head up the red stairs next to it. Once inside the bank, head up and round the back of the cashier to find a big ass chest and 200,000 free Mora. Another good habit when it comes to the Genshin grind is to spend some resin first at the start of each play session. Resin is a limited resource that is needed to claim the rewards from events, bosses and dungeons found around the world. Resin will recharge by itself even when you're offline, but it does so very slowly. Resin is easy to ignore as a new player, however collecting boss domain rewards will eventually be the only way to ascend your characters and their weapons later on. In order to make this grind go smoother for your future self, spend some resin every day and make sure you do it sooner rather than later. One final point is that if you do run out of resin but are desperate for one last domain run, you may have some fragile resin sitting in your inventory. Once collected, fragile resin can be found in the far right tab of your backpack and must be activated to be consumed. The next tip is a rather simplistic one, but it can be a good way to maximise the growth of your primo gems and adventure rank experience. That is to do your daily commissions each time you log in and collect the rewards afterwards. Commissions are unlocked at adventure rank 12 and provide the player with the opportunity to earn a little more XP every day. Commissions normally consist of 4 minimalistic tasks that are indicated by these small purple stars on your map. You might have to zoom in a little to see these if they don't appear at first. Whether you're clearing out a bandit camp or delivering a quest item, these jobs are pretty chill and rarely require much effort. Once the 4 jobs have been completed, head back to the Adventurers Guild in Mondstadt to collect your commission rewards. This is the same place you go to cash in your adventure rank stuff, so if you time your level ups well, you can come back here for a bunch of free items and Skrilla. For tip number 5, if you want to take a break from questing or mindlessly wandering, a great way to fly up the early adventure ranks is to work towards your chapter investigation rewards. These are unlocked very early on and can be found in the experience tab of the Adventurer's Handbook. If you have unlocked this feature, hit F1 on your keyboard or find the book icon on your controller to grind up a list of side tasks that provide rewards upon completion. With a bit of luck, you may have already completed a bunch of these, and as with the mail achievements tip, it's simply a matter of claiming the loot. In addition to chapter goals, you can also look for the free trial events that allow you to test play characters you might not own yet. These trials are short, throwaway fights that allow you to play new heroes and earn some free loot on the side. The events rotate fairly frequently and will allow you to try even more characters and pick up even more rewards. When reaching adventure rank 20, players will have the option to head to the Spiral Abyss, a multiple floor dungeon that grants a bunch of rewards throughout it. To get to the Abyss the first time, players should head to the eastern side of the map and glide through the giant orb in the sky. Activate the Sealy statues below the orb and a wind current will carry you to the small island of Musk Reef and the entrance of the Abyss. Once inside, players can start to tackle the challenges on each floor and begin collecting the rewards. Each chamber has 1 to 3 stars to achieve, although a higher rating will require players to complete the challenges much faster. Perhaps the most important draw of the Abyss is that getting to chamber 3 on floor 3 will permanently unlock a new character for players to keep. At the moment this is Jiangling. If you've made it to AR 20 and are looking for a new fire DPS, make sure you hit up the Abyss and grab the drops. In the first guide we discussed the different ranks in Genshin, but didn't really discuss a strategy for leveling characters. In general, it's a good idea to experiment with all your team members to begin with, as this is how you'll discover which ones best suit your playstyle. On the flip side of this, you might want to hesitate when spending too much of your XP rewards right off the get-go. As a solid rule of thumb, you probably want to pick 1 or 2 heroes to funnel the majority of your XP into in the early game. The reason for this is because one strong character is often enough to beat the early challenges and carry the rest of your team. As always, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but in my own experience it's often better to have 1 or 2 powerful characters than 4 or 5 average characters. If you've messed around with your own party and still can't decide who you want to commit to, you can look up a number of Genshin tier lists to see who other people are having success with. With a bit of luck on those wish rolls, 1 or 2 A S tier heroes will have you kicking ass in no time. Along the same vein, you will also want to hold off upgrading your early 2 and 3 star weapons too much. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but you will quickly start to discover 4 and 5 star weapons if you haven't already. Getting some of these to the higher ranks costs a lot more XP, and so the player who holds off on upgrading will have a lot more fuel to work with further down the line. If you do find yourself with a decent weapon at some point and begin to ascend it, make sure you check the various souvenir shops in the cities. These vendors do not have unlimited stock, but they will sell you a handful of very useful items required for upgrading to set you up at the start of your journey. On the subject of sleeping on hidden resources, don't discredit the early buffs given to you by various food recipes found in the game. I can see a world where many players unlock a decent healer early on and end up forgetting that a cooking system exists at all. Checking out some of the 4 and 5 star dishes at some point can give you a huge boost to your stats and last for a decent amount of time. If you're struggling with a particular boss fight or event, have a peek in your bag and see if there's an ass-kicking lasagna lying around in there. In the early parts of Genshin, it's easy to think that you're super rich and will never have a need for money. However, the advanced players will know that leveling your 5 star weapons and artifacts begins to put a super strain on your bank account. If you're desperate for money and want that next quick upgrade, you can hit up the Blossoms of Wealth found around the map. These are indicated by the glowing yellow circles and begin to spawn after you reach Adventure Rank 12. The only drawback is that each time you claim the reward, it will cost you a handful of your precious resin. This is why we talked about using your resin reserves as early in the day as possible earlier on. If your cash levels are fine but you need more character XP, just look out for the Blossoms of Revelation instead. These will begin to spawn after Adventure Rank 8. The next tip will be a quick one because there's really not much to it. If you're having difficulty sustaining HP in the wild, you can actually use the Statue of the Seven to heal your entire party. This can be particularly useful if you don't yet have a competent healer or if you have run out of food supplies and don't want to port away. Many players won't even consider this, but it's worth noting as a very last resort. You can actually adjust the slider for the power of the heal inside the statue itself and change the percentage of HP you'd like to receive when entering its vicinity. These healing powers are not infinite and do need to recharge over time, so if you're going to be hopping back to the statue for continuous emergency treatment, you might want to limit the draw of your recovery trips. We touched on artifacts in our first guide, and so again, we won't need to spend too much time on this topic. At this stage, you guys probably have more than a few random artifacts and maybe even some 4 or 5 star ones. Investing in the rarer ones is normally a good option as they will remain relevant for longer and continue to be useful deeper into the content. Aligning sets of artifacts will give you a bonus, and it's up to yourself which of these is most important or relevant to you. As a quick subtopic, some artifact families only require a soul artifact to activate a passive ability. Artifacts can often start with extra randomly generated stat buffs. The higher the artifact's rarity, the more likely these extra stats are going to appear. Artifacts will continue to gain an extra random stat every 4 levels up to a maximum of 4. After an artifact gains all of its extra 4 bonus stats, it will start to randomly upgrade these one at a time, again every 4 levels. 3 star artifacts hit max rank at level 12, 4 star artifacts hit max rank at level 16, and 5 star artifacts hit max rank at level 20. I always recommend throwing a bunch of random equipment on your characters in the beginning and then slowly start tailoring these to your MVP team as you play throughout the game. One aspect of your Genshin team comp that may go unnoticed is the passive buff gained from Elemental Resonance. Elemental Resonance is just the fancy name given to the passive boost that your current roster of characters get from having overlapping elements. You can only see this from the party selection screen, so it's not totally weird for people to miss this. Having 2 fire users in your party, for example, will increase the attack damage across all your characters by 25%. Having 2 water users will increase all healing by 30%. Arguably, some of these synergies provide less value than others, but being aware of this feature will allow you to further tweak your squad and create the best team for you. Knowing about resonance will also allow you to perhaps build different squads for different tasks, for example a fire DPS squad for certain boss fights or an increased movement speed win comp for general exploration. Got another quick tip coming in at number 13, and that is to quickly mention passive talents. Every character has a unique passive talent that provides permanent, singular or based party buffs. In a nutshell, talents allow you to power up the abilities of your character, assuming they're high enough level and that you have items to do so. Inside of the talent tree you'll find these prior mentioned passive talents which are exclusive to each hero. Amber can glide further, Kaya can consume stamina slower, and Bennett will complete Mondstadt expeditions much faster. There's nothing particularly explosive here, but getting to know these and your characters can help you fine tune your gameplay a little further. Lastly, I see a lot of players miss the option to level up the constellations of your main character. Because the MC can be both wind and rock element, you will have to pick up the corresponding memory items from the quests or relevant vendors. To boost your animal constellation, buy from the souvenir shop in Mondstadt, and to boost your geo constellation, buy from the souvenir shop in Liyue. In order to purchase these items, you will require animal and geo sigils, which are found from chests, rocky outcrops, and Statue of the Seven level up rewards. On the topic of collecting valuable resources from merchants, one seller that's pretty elusive is the travelling shopkeeper Chlorist. Chlorist patrols the horizontal road found east of Mondstadt, and so a lot of people might not even know of her existence. For a chunk of Mora, Chlorist will sell you 5 flowers that can be used to ascend the max rank of certain characters. You can find these flowers in the wild, but buying a few up front can save a little time in the future, especially when the higher ascensions start to require crates of these bastards. Chlorist's stock will replenish every 3 days, but she'll only be available during the daytime. She's busy at night. Probably selling weed. For the last spot on our list, I've got a bunch of other mini pointers that didn't really warrant their own segment but are still worth mentioning. If you don't use a character who wields a claymore or a club, a drop attack from the sky will farm ore much faster than a regular one-handed sword attack will. Increase your world level as soon as you can. The enemies around you will level up slightly, but so will the loot you receive from chests. Increasing your world level will also increase your max adventure rank and unlock stronger domains. If you're someone who skips through quest dialogue, keep an eye out for blue text appearing in the middle of sentences. Some quests will expect you to suddenly pay attention, and this blue text is a clue that you might not have a homing quest marker for this mission. When out and about exploring, you can use your slam attack to sometimes negate fall damage from high heights. This will not make you completely immortal, but it will minimise most of the pain and allow you to continue on without having to fully revive one of your characters. If you're in a particularly tough fight and things are looking bad, you don't actually have to stick around. You can actually open the map at any point and teleport away from the encounter. Lastly, if you find the location of a wisp pillar, i.e. the little blue wisp that leads you to treasure, but there is no Seelie close by, you can use your elemental sight to show you a faint trail to the wisp's location. For some of the more tricky puzzles that exist, you can ultimately use this to backtrack from the end goal and find the ghosties that are hidden. And that brings us to the end of this guide, folks. Genshin has been out for a while now, and so none of these tips are particularly mind-blowing. That being said, I've really been enjoying this game and wanted an excuse to share as much of my info as possible with you guys. Again, if you're still here and you're not totally fed up with the sounds of my blatant pagan tones, be sure to check out my beginner's guide to Genshin if you fancy it. The support on that video has been top notch, and so I just wanted to take a moment to credit you guys for helping me out. Thanks a ton. As always, I've been Mr. Wolfie. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.